Then you came. You actually came.
Those 4 words, slurred and desperate, would echo in my mind for the rest of my life. I never expected to be standing in a crowded bar at 2:17 in the morning, my arms wrapped around my boss, the woman who could make or break my career with a single email. Her designer red dress was wrinkled and askew. Her long blonde hair, usually twisted into a perfect professional knot, had come loose and tangled around her shoulders. She smelled like expensive perfume mixed with whiskey, and she was crying against my chest like I was the only solid thing left in her world. Charlotte Hayes, the youngest female vice president in the history of Hayes Marketing Group, the ice queen who had made my work life quietly miserable for 18 months. The woman who had never once called me by my first name until tonight. And here she was, mumbling something that stopped me cold. "You are the only person who has ever really seen me." I did not know what to do with that confession. I was just a project coordinator trying to keep my head above water, raising a 7-year-old daughter on my own, praying every single day that I would not mess up badly enough to lose my job or fail my little girl. I was not supposed to be here. I was not supposed to care what happened to this woman who had done nothing but criticize my work and dismiss my contributions. But something in her voice on that phone call had reached through all the resentment and frustration and grabbed me by the heart. Something vulnerable, something scared, something that sounded exactly like the loneliness I had been carrying for 5 years. That night changed everything between us in ways neither of us could have imagined. And what she confessed the next morning, sitting at my tiny kitchen table while my daughter explained volcano science, that is when I realized that some mistakes lead to the most beautiful beginnings. Let me tell you how it happened. Let me tell you about the night that rewrote both our stories. It started 12 hours earlier with a science project and an unexpected phone call. The volcano was refusing to cooperate. "Daddy, it keeps falling over." My 7-year-old daughter Lily was staring at our clay creation with the intensity of a surgeon examining a difficult patient. "We need more newspaper on the bottom." "For stability." I smiled at her use of the word stability, something she had picked up from her 2nd-grade teacher, and reached for another sheet of newspaper. "You are absolutely right, sweetheart. More foundation, more stability." Our modest 2-bedroom apartment was not much to look at. The carpet was worn in the high-traffic areas, the kitchen appliances were older than Lily, and the couch had a permanent indentation from years of bedtime stories and Saturday morning cartoons. But the walls were covered with Lily's artwork, bright crayon drawings of dinosaurs and rainbows, and our little family of 2. The refrigerator was plastered with her spelling tests and math worksheets, each one displaying a gold star she had earned through hard work. This apartment was not fancy, but it was ours. It was home. "Will the judges be impressed?" Lily asked, carefully pressing more newspaper around the base of our papier-mâché mountain. "I think the judges are going to be very impressed," I told her honestly. "You have worked really hard on this project." She beamed at me, and my heart did that thing it always did when she smiled. That squeeze of pure love mixed with terror that I was somehow going to mess this up, that I was not enough for her, that one parent could never fill the space that 2 were supposed to occupy. My phone buzzed on the table. A text from my coworker Marcus about the company holiday party happening downtown tonight. "You coming, big networking opportunity?" I glanced at Lily, who was now explaining the science of volcanic eruptions to her stuffed dinosaur, and typed back a quick reply. "Cannot make it. Family stuff." The truth was more complicated than that. I could not afford a babysitter tonight, not after paying for Lily's new winter coat and the supplies for this science project. And even if I could, I did not own anything appropriate to wear to a fancy corporate party. My work wardrobe consisted of 3 button-down shirts that I rotated carefully, and 2 pairs of khakis that were starting to show their age. Besides, Charlotte Hayes would be there. My boss. The woman who reviewed my work with a red pen like she was grading a failing student. The woman who had never once acknowledged my contributions in team meetings, who spoke to me in clipped professional tones, who made me feel invisible in every way that mattered. "Daddy, why do we never go to fancy parties?" Lily's question caught me off guard. I looked at her innocent face, those big brown eyes that saw everything and understood more than a 7-year-old should. "Because fancy parties are not as fun as volcano parties," I said, tickling her side until she giggled. "And I would rather spend my Saturday nights with you than with anyone else in the whole world." She accepted this answer with the easy trust of childhood turning back to our project. But the question lingered in my mind, mixing with older, heavier thoughts. I had not always lived like this. 5 years ago, I had had a wife, a partner, someone to share the load with, to laugh with, to build a life with. Rachel had been beautiful and vibrant, the kind of woman who lit up every room she entered. We had met in college, married young, and welcomed Lily into the world when I was 27 years old. For 2 years, I thought we were happy. I was wrong. Rachel had struggled with motherhood from the very beginning. The sleepless nights, the endless demands, the loss of freedom she had not anticipated. She had said she wanted children, but the reality was different from the fantasy. I watched her grow distant, resentful, withdrawn. I tried everything: marriage counseling, date nights, giving her breaks and space and time. Nothing worked. She left on a Tuesday morning when Lily was 2 years old. I came home from work to find a note on the kitchen counter. Just a few sentences that shattered my entire world. "I cannot breathe in this life. I am sorry. I have to find out who I am outside of all this. Please do not hate me." She had already booked a flight to Los Angeles. She was going to pursue acting, she said. Follow her dreams. Find herself. She found herself all right. Last I heard, she was working as a waitress in some diner never made it in Hollywood. But she never came back for Lily. Not for birthdays. Not for Christmas. Not for the first day of school, or the science fair, or any of the 1,000 small moments that make up a childhood. She sent child support checks for 6 months, then stopped responding entirely. Her phone number changed. Her email bounced back. She just disappeared like our daughter was something she could simply opt out of. Lily cried for her mommy every night for a year. I learned to do everything alone. YouTube tutorials taught me how to braid hair. Pinterest fails taught me what not to pack in a lunchbox. I sat in parent-teacher conferences surrounded by couples, feeling the weight of that empty chair beside me. I figured out how to be both mother and father, though some days I felt like I was failing at both. I never dated after Rachel left. Where would I find the time? Where would I find the trust? My entire world narrowed down to 2 things: keeping my job and raising my daughter. Everything else fell away. "Daddy, I think we need the vinegar now." Lily's voice pulled me back to the present, to our tiny kitchen and our lopsided volcano, and the only thing that really mattered. "Not yet, sweetheart. We have to wait until the judges are watching. Remember, timing is everything." She nodded, seriously accepting this wisdom. My phone buzzed again, but this time it was not a text. It was a phone call. The caller ID showed a name that made my stomach drop. Charlotte Hayes. My boss was calling me at 9:47 on a Saturday night. This could not be good. I stepped away from the table, keeping my voice low, so Lily would not hear the anxiety in it. "Hello." The voice that came through the phone was nothing like the crisp, commanding tone I had grown accustomed to over 18 months of working under Charlotte Hayes. This voice was slurred, barely coherent, and underneath, the alcohol unmistakably scared. "Nathan." She said my first name. In all the time I had worked for her, she had never once called me Nathan. It was always Matthews, spoken with professional distance. Sometimes she did not address me at all, just launched into whatever critique or assignment she had for me. "Miss Hayes, is everything okay?" I heard something that might have been a laugh or might have been a sob. "No, nothing is okay. I need help." My chest tightened with something I did not expect concern. Where are you? What is wrong? The blue something. Downtown. Her words were running together. I cannot drive. My phone is dying. Nathan, please, I do not know who else to call. The line went dead. I stood there for a moment, phone still pressed to my ear, trying to process what had just happened. Charlotte Hayes, the woman who seemed to have everything under control, was drunk and stranded somewhere downtown. She had called me of all people. Me, the employee she seemed to barely tolerate. I should call someone else, I thought. Her family, her friends, someone who actually knows her. But I did not have any of those numbers. And something in her voice, that vulnerability I had never heard before, that fear, would not let me just ignore it. I knew only one bar downtown with blue in the name, the Blue Velvet Lounge. It was a high-end place where executives entertained clients and closed deals over expensive cocktails. Not my kind of scene at all, but I had heard people at work mention it. Sweetheart, Daddy needs to go help a friend. She is not feeling well, and she needs a ride home. I am going to call Mrs. Patterson to come stay with you, okay? Lily's eyes went wide. Is your friend sick? Something like that, I said, already dialing our elderly neighbor, who had watched Lily countless times over the years. Mrs. Patterson was a widow whose own children lived across the country. She adored Lily, and Lily adored her back. The phone rang twice before her warm voice answered. Nathan, everything okay? I am so sorry to call so late, Mrs. Patterson. Something came up at work, and I need to go help someone. Would you be able to come sit with Lily for a few hours? Of course, dear. I will be right over. You go help your friend. Relief flooded through me. She is asleep by 9 usually, and I will be back as soon as I can. Do not you worry about a thing. Go. 10 minutes later, Mrs. Patterson was settled on our couch with her knitting, and I was kissing Lily's forehead as she yawned. Will your friend be okay, Daddy? I hope so, sweetheart. Get some sleep. I will see you in the morning. She hugged me tight, her small arms squeezing with surprising strength. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, baby girl. More than anything in the whole world. I grabbed my old jacket, the one with the fraying cuffs that I kept meaning to replace, and headed out into the rainy Seattle night. My car was a 10-year-old sedan with more miles on it than I like to think about. But it started reliably and got me where I needed to go. As I drove toward downtown windshield wipers fighting the steady drizzle, I wondered what I was getting myself into. Charlotte Hayes had never given me any reason to help her. She had been cold dismissive sometimes, downright cruel in her professional criticism, but she had also sounded terrified, and I could not ignore someone who was scared and alone, no matter how they had treated me. That is just not who I am. The Blue Velvet Lounge was exactly the kind of place I did not belong. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over polished wood and leather seating. Well-dressed people laughed and clinked glasses celebrating the holiday season with champagne and cocktails that probably cost more than my grocery budget for a week. The women wore designer dresses and expensive jewelry. The men wore suits that actually fit them properly. I walked in wearing faded jeans and a wrinkled button-down shirt that I had grabbed from the back of my closet. The hostess gave me a look that made it clear I was being judged and found wanting. I am looking for someone, I said before she could ask if I had a reservation. A woman. Blonde hair, probably wearing something formal. The hostess's expression did not change. We have a lot of blonde women here tonight, sir. I pushed past her, ignoring her protests. I did not have time for this. If Charlotte's phone had died, she was stranded with no way to call for help. And based on how she had sounded on the phone, she was in no condition to take care of herself. I scanned the crowded room, searching for familiar blonde hair. The holiday party crowd was in full swing, people laughing and dancing and celebrating. None of them seemed to notice me as I wove between tables and around the bar. Then I saw her. Charlotte Hayes was slumped at the far end of the bar. Her normally perfect posture collapsed like a puppet whose strings had been cut. Her red designer dress, the kind of thing that probably cost more than my monthly rent, was wrinkled and askew. Her long blonde hair had come loose from whatever elegant style she had worn earlier, now tangling around her shoulders in disheveled waves. Even from across the room, I could see that her mascara had smudged beneath her eyes, leaving dark trails down her cheeks. She looked like a fallen angel, beautiful and broken, and completely alone. But she was not alone. A man was standing too close to her, one hand on her lower back, his body angled to block her from the rest of the room. He was maybe 45 with silver-streaked hair and the kind of predatory smile that made my skin crawl. He was leaning in saying something I could not hear, and Charlotte was weakly pushing at his chest. I moved without thinking. I crossed the room in seconds, pushing past people who gave me dirty looks for my rudeness. I did not care. All I could see was Charlotte's face, her expression of disgust and fear, and this stranger who would not take no for an answer. I said no. Charlotte's voice was trying to be sharp, but the alcohol had softened all her edges. Please, I just want to be left alone. Come on, sweetheart. The man's voice was smooth and confident. A beautiful woman like you should not be drinking alone on Christmas Eve. Let me take you home. I will make sure you are safe. I do not want your help. She pushed at him again, but she was too uncoordinated to make it effective. Please, just leave me alone. The man laughed. You can barely stand. You need someone to take care of you. I am just being a gentleman. Something hot and protective surged through my chest. I did not think. I just acted. There you are. My voice came out louder than I intended. Several people at nearby tables looked up. I have been looking everywhere for you. I positioned myself between Charlotte and the stranger, my shoulder deliberately blocking his access to her. I was not a big guy, was not intimidating in any physical sense, but I planted my feet and made it clear I was not moving. Nathan Charlotte blinked up at me, her blue eyes struggling to focus. You came. You actually came. Of course I did. I kept my voice steady, my stance firm. I am sorry I am late. Traffic was terrible. The man's predatory smile had frozen into something colder. And you are. Her ride, her colleague, her friend. I met his eyes directly, letting him see that I was not backing down. Thanks for keeping her company, but I have got it from here. For a long moment, he did not move. I felt the tension crackling between us. He was bigger than me, probably richer, definitely more connected. If this turned into something physical, I would lose. But I was not backing down. Not when Charlotte was looking at me like I was the only solid thing in her world. Finally, the man stepped back, raising his hands in mock surrender. Whatever, man. She is not worth the trouble anyway. He walked away, disappearing into the crowd, and I let out a breath I had not realized I was holding. Charlotte grabbed my arm, her grip surprisingly strong for how unsteady she was. He would not leave. Her voice was barely a whisper. I kept saying no, and he would not leave. I know. I crouched down to her level, one hand gentle on her shoulder. But you are safe now. I have got you. She stared at me for a long moment, her blue eyes swimming with tears. Then she leaned forward and pressed her face against my chest, her whole body shaking with sobs. Everyone left me. Her voice was muffled against my shirt. Everyone always leaves. I did not know what to say to that. I did not know what had happened to bring Charlotte Hayes, the most controlled woman I had ever met, to this point of complete breakdown. But I knew I could not leave her here. Can you stand? I asked gently. I think so. Maybe. She laughed, but it came out more like a sob. I am really drunk, Nathan. I noticed. Come on, let us get you out of here. Getting her to her feet was an adventure. She swayed dangerously, and I had to wrap my arm around her waist to keep her upright. Her red dress was definitely going to be wrinkled beyond repair, but I did not think she cared about that right now. I cannot go home, she said, suddenly panic flashing across her face. Daniel is there. He is getting his things. The last of his things. I cannot let him see me like this. Nathan, please, I cannot go home. Oh, Daniel, her ex-fiancé. I had heard whispers at work about the broken engagement, but no one knew the details. Okay, I said, making a decision that would either be the biggest mistake of my professional life or something else entirely. You are not going home. Then where? I have a couch and coffee for the morning. The cab ride through rainy Seattle streets felt surreal. Charlotte had leaned against the window, her breath fogging the glass, watching the city lights blur past. She had stopped crying, but she had not stopped talking. The alcohol had dissolved whatever walls she normally kept up, and words were spilling out of her like water from a broken dam. Do you know what it is like to be perfect all the time? She was not really asking me. She was asking the universe to never make mistakes, to never show weakness, to always have the right answer and the right clothes and the right face for every situation. I did not answer. I just listened. I have been doing it my whole life. She laughed bitterly. Ever since I was 8 years old and my father walked out on Christmas morning, I thought if I was perfect enough, good enough, successful enough, maybe he would notice. Maybe he would come back. Her voice cracked. He never did. I'm sorry, I said quietly. That must have been incredibly hard. She turned to look at me, her blue eyes searching my face. Why are you being so nice to me? I have been horrible to you. I know I have. I have been cold and critical, and I have never once acknowledged how hard you work. I did not know what to say to that. The truth was she had been all those things. She had made my work life difficult in 1,000 small ways. But sitting here now, seeing the pain beneath the polish, I could not find it in myself to hold on to the resentment. Everyone deserves help when they need it, I said finally. She stared at me for a long moment, something shifting in her expression. Then she turned back to the window, and we rode the rest of the way in silence. My apartment building was not impressive. The lobby was small and slightly shabby, with fluorescent lights that buzzed, and an elevator that had been broken for 3 months. Charlotte did not seem to notice any of it, as I helped her up the 2 flights of stairs to my door. Mrs. Patterson met us at the door, her eyebrows rising slightly at the sight of the beautiful blonde woman leaning heavily on my arm. She is asleep, Mrs. Patterson whispered, nodding toward Lily's room. Has been for about an hour. Everything okay? It will be. Thank you so much for staying. I pulled some cash from my wallet, but she waved it away. You keep that. Just glad I could help. She gathered her knitting and her coat, pausing at the door to give Charlotte a long, curious look. You take care now. Once she was gone, I helped Charlotte to the couch and went to check on Lily. My daughter was sprawled across her bed in her favorite pajamas, the ones with the dancing dinosaurs, her stuffed T-Rex clutched to her chest. I adjusted her blanket and kissed her forehead, breathing in the sweet smell of her shampoo. When I returned to the living room, Charlotte had wandered to the wall of family photos. She was studying them with intense focus, swaying slightly on her feet. She looks like you, Charlotte said softly, pointing to a picture of Lily and me at the zoo. Same kind eyes, same smile. That is what everyone says. I moved to the couch and started setting it up with clean sheets and a pillow. She gets her stubbornness from her mother, though. Charlotte turned to look at me. Her mother. I hesitated. It was not something I talked about. Not with anyone. But something about tonight, about the rawness of everything, made the words come easier. She left when Lily was 2, I said, smoothing the sheets flat. Decided motherhood was not for her. I'm sorry. Charlotte's voice was barely a whisper. That must have been devastating. It was. I straightened up, meeting her eyes. But Lily and we figured it out. We are okay now. Charlotte was quiet for a moment, studying my face. Then she said something that made my heart skip. You know why I have been so hard on you at work. I froze. This was dangerous territory. We were standing in my living room at nearly 2 in the morning, both of us exhausted and emotional, and she was about to confess something I was not sure I wanted to hear. You should really get some sleep, I said carefully, because you are the best person in the department. She said it like she could not stop herself. You are talented and hardworking, and everyone likes you. And I am terrified. Terrified of what? That the executives will notice you. That they will promote you instead of me. That I will lose everything I have worked for because someone better came along. She laughed, but it was hollow and broken. Is that not pathetic? The great Charlotte Hayes threatened by her own employee. So I have been pushing you down, holding you back, making your life difficult because I was scared. I did not know what to say. This vulnerability from my always composed boss was completely disorienting. The Wilson presentation, she said suddenly, her eyes going wide with panic. It is Monday morning. I have not finished the slides. I was supposed to work on them tonight, but then Daniel came to get his things, and I could not be there, and I went to the bar instead. And now everything is ruined. I finished the slides yesterday, I said quietly. They are in your email. I was going to tell you on Monday. Charlotte stared at me. Her expression was completely unreadable. Why would you do that? After everything I have done to you, after how I have treated you. Why would you help me? The question hung in the air between us, heavy with implications neither of us was ready to face. I stepped closer to her, close enough to see the tears still clinging to her lashes, close enough to smell the whiskey on her breath, mixed with that expensive perfume. Because it was the right thing to do, I said simply. Because the presentation matters, and the company matters. And regardless of how things have been between us, I do not want to see you fail. Charlotte's breath caught. For one heartbeat, I thought she might lean in closer. Her eyes dropped to my lips and then back up to my eyes, and something electric crackled between us. Instead, she whispered, I think I need to lie down now. I helped her to the couch, settling her onto the sheets I had laid out. She curled onto her side, still in that wrinkled red dress, and I covered her with a blanket. Nathan. Her voice was already drowsy. Yeah, thank you for coming, for everything. Get some sleep, I said softly. We will figure out the rest in the morning. I stood there for a moment, watching her eyes close, watching her breathing even out into sleep. Then I went to my own room, lay down on my bed, and stared at the ceiling for a long time. What had just happened? And what would tomorrow bring? But sleep did not come easily. I lay in my bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything Charlotte had said. The alcohol had stripped away all her defenses, revealing a woman I had never seen before. A woman who was scared and lonely, and carrying wounds I knew nothing about. She had said she was threatened by me, that she had been holding me back on purpose. Part of me should have been angry about that. 18 months of being overlooked, of having my contributions dismissed, of feeling invisible in my own workplace. All because she was scared of being replaced. But I could not summon the anger. All I could think about was the look in her eyes when she talked about her father leaving on Christmas morning. The raw pain that had nothing to do with alcohol and everything to do with old, deep wounds that had never healed. I knew something about carrying those kinds of wounds. Around 3 a.m, I heard movement in the living room. I got up quietly and found Charlotte sitting on the edge of the couch, her head in her hands. Cannot sleep? I asked from the doorway. She looked up startled. I did not mean to wake you. You did not. I came to sit in the armchair across from her. Mind will not stop spinning. Charlotte laughed softly. Same. She was quiet for a moment, then said, I keep thinking about everything I said earlier. All of it. I remember all of it. You do not have to explain anything. Yes, I do. She looked at me directly, her blue eyes clearer now than they had been at the bar. I have spent my entire career fighting to be taken seriously, Nathan. Do you have any idea what it is like to be a woman in corporate America? I shook my head. I do not. Every promotion I have ever gotten has been questioned. Every success attributed to luck or connections or something other than my actual ability. I have had to be twice as good as every man around me just to be considered equal. And I have done it. I have climbed and clawed and sacrificed everything to get where I am. Her voice was shaking now, but not from alcohol, from something deeper. And then you came along. Talented and humble and genuinely good at your job. Everyone in the office likes you. The executives notice your work, and I knew that if I did not do something, you would pass me by. So you held me back. Yes, she did not try to deny it. I blocked your advancement. I took credit for your ideas. I made sure you stayed invisible, because I was terrified that if you rose, I would fall. She wiped her eyes roughly. I told myself I was just being strategic, just protecting my position. But the truth is, I was scared. I am always scared. I have been scared my whole life. Of what? Of being left behind. Of not being good enough. Of waking up one day and realizing that all my success means nothing because I am completely alone. She laughed bitterly, which is exactly what happened tonight. Daniel finished moving out of our apartment. 3 years together, wedding plans, a future I thought was finally secure. And he took it all with him when he walked out the door with the woman he had been sleeping with for 6 months. I sucked in a breath. He cheated on you, with my assistant. Charlotte's voice was hollow. The woman I mentored, the woman I trusted. I found out 2 months ago. Tonight was the final step, the last of his things gone from our apartment. She looked around my modest living room. I could not be there, could not watch him pack up our life together. So I went to the bar instead. I was going to have 1 drink, and then go home once I knew he was gone. But 1 drink became 2, and 2 became too many. And then my phone was dying, and that man would not leave me alone, and I did not know who else to call. "Why did you call me?" Charlotte was quiet for a long moment. "Because you are the only person at work who does not seem to want something from me. Everyone else is always angling for promotions, or favors, or access. But you just do your job. You do not play politics. You do not try to use people." She met my eyes. "And because I have spent 18 months being terrible to you, and you still answer the phone at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night when I call." I did not know what to say to that. "You should hate me," Charlotte said softly, "after everything I have done." "I do not hate you." I surprised myself with the truth of it. I was frustrated, sure. I knew something was holding me back, and I could not figure out what. But I do not hate you. Why not? Because I understand being scared. I understand doing things you are not proud of because you are trying to survive. And because tonight I saw the real you, the person underneath all the armor. And I do not think that person is someone I could hate. Charlotte stared at me, her expression unreadable. Then, so quietly I almost missed it, she said, "You might be the kindest person I have ever met." "Get some sleep," I said, gently standing up. "Things will look different in the morning." I went back to my room and finally fell asleep, dreaming of blue eyes and red dresses and second chances I never saw coming. I woke at 6:15 to the smell of coffee. For a moment I was disoriented. I did not remember setting my coffee maker, and Lily was definitely too young to be operating kitchen appliances. Then the events of the previous night came flooding back, and I bolted out of bed. I expected to find Charlotte still asleep on the couch, or maybe already gone, having slipped out in the early morning to avoid the awkwardness of facing me sober. What I found instead stopped me in my tracks. Charlotte was sitting at my tiny kitchen table, still wearing yesterday's wrinkled red dress, her blonde hair falling in messy waves around her shoulders. Across from her sat Lily, still in her dinosaur pajamas, her eyes bright with excitement, as she explained something with animated hand gestures. "And the volcano needs to have the right kind of cone shape," Lily was saying seriously. "That is what makes the lava flow properly. Mrs. Rodriguez showed us pictures of real volcanoes, and they all have this specific angle." Charlotte was nodding along, like Lily was presenting a doctoral thesis. "That makes perfect sense. The angle would affect the trajectory of the eruption." "Exactly." Lily beamed. "Daddy says I am going to be a scientist when I grow up." "I think he might be right," Charlotte said softly. I cleared my throat and both of them looked up at me. "Daddy." Lily's face split into a huge smile. "Miss Charlotte made coffee, and she knows about volcanoes. She said she did a volcano project when she was my age, too." I met Charlotte's eyes over my daughter's head. She looked embarrassed and grateful, and something else I could not quite name. Her corporate mask was completely gone. Without the armor of perfect hair and flawless makeup, she looked younger, more approachable, more real. "I hope it is okay," Charlotte said, gesturing at the coffee pot. I woke up early, and I did not want to just leave without saying anything. And then Lily came out and we started talking about science. "It is more than okay." I moved to pour myself a cup of coffee. "I see you two have become friends." Lily nodded enthusiastically. "Miss Charlotte is really smart, Daddy. She knew about all the different types of volcanoes. Did you know there are underwater volcanoes? They are called submarine volcanoes." I didn't know that, actually. But I was not about to steal Lily's thunder. "Tell me more." For the next 10 minutes, I listened to my daughter explain volcanic geology, while Charlotte added occasional comments that showed she was genuinely paying attention. There was no condescension in the way Charlotte talked to Lily, no forced cheerfulness or obvious adult talking to child tone. She engaged with my daughter like Lily's thoughts and ideas actually mattered. It was something I had not expected, and it made something warm bloom in my chest. Eventually, Lily looked at the clock on the stove and gasped, "I have to get ready." She ran off toward the bathroom, calling over her shoulder, "You will still be here when I come back." "Right. Miss Charlotte." Charlotte looked at me uncertainly. "You are welcome to stay for breakfast," I offered. "It is just eggs and toast. Nothing fancy. But you are welcome to it." She hesitated. "I should probably go. I have imposed enough." "You have not imposed at all." I sat down across from her, wrapping my hands around my coffee mug. "Besides, I think Lily would be disappointed if you left without saying goodbye." Charlotte smiled, a small but genuine thing that softened her whole face. "She is an amazing kid, Nathan. I know. I am pretty lucky. Not just lucky." She shook her head. "You have raised her to be curious and kind and confident. That does not happen by accident. That takes work." I felt heat creep up my neck at the compliment. "I just try to be there for her." "Exactly." Charlotte's voice was soft. "You show up. Every day. That is more than a lot of parents do." The conversation lulled into comfortable silence. I could hear Lily singing to herself in the bathroom, something about dinosaurs and volcanoes that she had probably made up on the spot. "Nathan," Charlotte said finally about last night. I braced myself for what came next. The apology that would also be a goodbye. The request to pretend nothing had happened. The return to professional distance that would make the next months at work unbearable. What she said instead took my breath away. "Please let me say this before I lose my nerve." Charlotte's voice was steady, but I could see her hands trembling slightly around her coffee mug. She took a deep breath. "I remember everything I said last night. Every embarrassing word. Every confession about being threatened by you, about holding you back, about being scared. I would like to blame the alcohol, but the truth is, all of it was true. The alcohol just made me honest enough to say it." I started to respond, but she held up a hand. "I owe you an apology. Not just for last night, but for the past 18 months. I have been unfair to you, Nathan. I have blocked your advancement, dismissed your contributions, made your work life harder than it needed to be. All because of my own insecurities." I did not know what to say. This was so far from what I had expected. Charlotte stood and moved to the window, looking out at the morning light filtering through the clouds. "I have spent my entire career building walls," she said quietly. "Protecting myself. Convincing myself that showing any weakness would be fatal in a world that was looking for reasons to tear me down. I never let anyone get close, never admitted when I was wrong, never asked for help." She turned back to face me. "And then last night happened. I was drunk and scared and completely alone, and you came. You did not have to. I have given you every reason to ignore my call, to let me deal with my own mess. But you came anyway." "It is what anyone would have done," I said. "No." Charlotte shook her head firmly. "It is not. Most people would have ignored the call, or they would have helped with strings attached, expecting something in return. But you just showed up. You took care of me. You brought me to your home, let me sleep on your couch. And you did not ask for anything." Her voice caught. "And then this morning I watched you with Lily. I saw the way you look at her, the way she looks at you. I saw this whole life you have built on your own, without help, without support, just showing up every single day and being what she needs." She met my eyes. "You are a good man, Nathan. A really good man. And I have treated you terribly." The air between us felt charged heavy with the weight of everything being said. "So what happens now?" I asked quietly. Charlotta took a breath, and something shifted in her expression. The vulnerability did not disappear, but something else joined it. Determination. "Now I fix it." She straightened her spine, and I caught a glimpse of the formidable executive beneath the morning vulnerability. "First, we nail the Wilson presentation tomorrow. Thank you for finishing those slides, by the way. That was above and beyond. It was just work that needed to get done. It was you, saving my career when I had done nothing to deserve it." She paused. "After the presentation, I am recommending you for the senior manager position that is opening next month." I stared at her. "But you have been working toward that position. I have heard you mention it." "I am aiming for the director role," she said with a hint of a smile. "And I will need a senior manager I can trust. Someone who sees me at my worst and still shows up." The implications of what she was saying settled over me slowly. "Charlotte." I stood up, moving closer to her. "I do not want you to do this out of guilt. I do not want a promotion because you feel bad about what happened. That is not why I am doing it." She held my gaze steadily. "I am doing it because you deserve it, because you have earned it, because you are the best person in that department, and it is time I stopped pretending otherwise." We stood there facing each other in my small kitchen, the morning light catching the gold in her hair. "Is this going to be weird?" I asked finally. "At work, I mean. After everything." "Probably." She laughed softly. "But I think weird might be better than what we had before." "Miss Charlotte?" Lily's voice came from the hallway. "Can you help me with my hair?" Charlotta's eyes stayed on mine for one more moment. "May I?" I nodded, unable to speak, past the emotion suddenly clogging my throat. I watched her walk toward my daughter's voice, this woman who had been my adversary for 18 months, who had called me drunk and desperate, who had cried in my living room and confessed her fears. And I realized that sometimes the most unexpected nights lead to the most unexpected mornings. The Wilson presentation went flawlessly. Charlotte delivered my slides with the commanding presence that had made her the youngest VP in company history. I supported her with data points and follow-up answers. Our partnership seamless in a way that surprised us both. The clients were impressed. The executives noticed. After the meeting, Charlotte caught me in the hallway outside the conference room. "Nathan." She was back in full professional mode. Her hair perfectly styled, her blazer crisp, every trace of Saturday night's vulnerability hidden beneath corporate armor. "Can I speak with you for a moment?" "Of course." We stepped into an empty office and she closed the door behind us. "I wanted to thank you." Her voice was formal, but her eyes were warm. "That presentation could have been a disaster. Because of you, it was a success. It was a team effort." "No, it was not." She shook her head. "It was you going above and beyond when you had no reason to, when I had given you every reason not to." The professional distance felt strange now, after everything we had shared. I did not know how to navigate this new dynamic between us. "Charlotte," I started. "I know." She held up a hand. "It is complicated. I am your boss. There are rules and expectations, and 100 reasons why we should pretend Saturday night never happened." She paused. "But I do not want to pretend." "What do you want?" "I want to start over." She met my eyes directly. "Not as your boss and her subordinate. As colleagues. Maybe even as friends. I want to actually deserve the respect you showed me when you had every right to leave me stranded at that bar. I can work with that." "Good." She smiled, and it transformed her whole face. "And Nathan, the senior manager recommendation goes through this week. It is not favoritism. You have earned it. I am just finally doing what I should have done months ago." She reached out and touched my arm briefly, a gesture that sent warmth spreading through my chest. "Thank you for everything." Over the following weeks, the dynamics at work shifted in ways both subtle and significant. Charlotte still held high standards. She still expected excellence. But there was no more ice in her tone, no more dismissiveness in her feedback. She acknowledged my contributions in team meetings. She asked my opinion publicly and actually listened to the answers. The office noticed the change. Whispers circulated speculation about what had prompted the thaw in the Ice Queen's demeanor. I ignored the rumors and focused on my work, but I could not help but be aware of Charlotte in ways I had not been before. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was thinking. The hint of a smile that played at her lips when something amused her. The red dresses she seemed to wear more often now, as if she knew that color made my heart beat a little faster. Days turned into weeks. The senior manager promotion came through just as Charlotte had promised. My new office was larger, with an actual door and a window that looked out over the Seattle skyline. The raise meant I could finally replace my worn-out couch and put a little money into savings for Lily's future. But the biggest change was not professional. It was the way I found myself thinking about Charlotte Hayes when I should have been thinking about spreadsheets and project timelines. The way my eyes sought her out in every meeting. The way my heart lifted when her name appeared on my phone. Something was growing between us. Neither of us was ready to name it yet. But it was there, and it was real. 3 weeks after that night, I was working late on a project deadline when Charlotte appeared in my doorway. "You are still here," she said, sounding surprised. I looked up from my computer screen, blinking in the sudden awareness that the office around me had gone dark and quiet. I did not realize how late it was. "It is almost 9. She stepped into my office, her heels clicking softly on the floor. "I was the last one out and I saw your light on. Just trying to finish the quarterly projections." I rubbed my eyes, suddenly aware of how tired I was. "I promised Lily I would be home for breakfast, so I need to knock this out tonight." Charlotte perched on the edge of my desk, her red dress a bright spot of color in the dim office. "How is Lily her volcano?" "Second place in the science fair." I could not keep the pride out of my voice. She was a little disappointed not to win first, but she rallied. Already talking about what she is going to do for next year. That is amazing. Charlotte's smile was genuine. She is such a special kid. She liked you, you know. I found myself saying the words before I could think better of them. She asked about you the next day. Wanted to know if you were feeling better. Charlotte's expression softened. "Tell her I am much better. Thanks to her dad." "I will." We sat in comfortable silence for a moment. The kind of silence that does not need filling. Outside the window, Seattle's lights glittered against the night sky. "Nathan." Charlotte's voice was quieter now. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "That night, when I called you, you could have ignored it. You could have let me figure it out on my own. Why did you come?" I thought about the question, trying to find the honest answer beneath all the easy ones. "Because you sounded scared," I said finally. "And I know what it is like to be scared and alone. I would not wish that on anyone, not even someone who has made my life difficult." Charlotte flinched slightly at my honesty. I deserved that. Maybe. I turned my chair to face her more directly. "But you also deserved someone showing up for you. Everyone does." She was quiet for a long moment. "You know what surprised me most," she said finally. "It was not that you came. It was not that you took care of me. It was the next morning. What about it? You did not make me feel ashamed. I showed up at your apartment drunk and emotional and completely out of control. I said things I never should have said. And the next morning you treated me like a person, not like a problem to be managed or a mistake to be covered up. Just like a person. Because that is what you are." Charlotte met my eyes, and something passed between us. Something that had been building for weeks, maybe longer. My phone buzzed on the desk. A text from Mrs. Patterson. "Lily is asking if you are coming home soon. She wants a bedtime story. Charlotte glanced at the message and smiled. Go. She stood up, smoothing her dress. Be with your daughter. The projections can wait until morning. I should stay and finish. Nathan. She said my name firmly. Go home to your little girl. I will review what you have so far and send you my notes. We can finish it together tomorrow. I hesitated, torn between responsibility and longing. But Lily's face swam in my mind, her disappointment, when Daddy came home after she was already asleep. Okay. I saved my work and reached for my jacket. Thank you, Charlotte. She walked me to the elevator, her heels echoing in the empty hallway. Nathan. She stopped me just as the elevator doors opened. Yeah, would you like to have dinner sometime? A real dinner. Not work-related. Not a thank you or an apology. Just two people getting to know each other. My heart jumped in my chest. I would like that, I said. I would like that very much. She smiled, and it was the most beautiful thing I had seen in years. I will call you, she said as the elevator doors closed between us. I rode down to the parking garage with a stupid grin on my face, feeling lighter than I had in longer than I could remember. Saturday evening found me standing in front of my bathroom mirror, second-guessing every choice I had made in the past hour. The shirt was borrowed from my brother Marcus, who was slightly larger than me, but had better taste in clothes. The jacket was my one nice piece, saved for weddings and funerals, and apparently first dates with women way out of my league. I had gotten a haircut that morning, trimming away the shaggy mess I had been too busy to deal with for months. You look nice, Daddy. Lily appeared in the doorway, her assessment matter of fact. Is this for your date with Miss Charlotte? I smiled at her in the mirror. You think it is okay? She tilted her head, considering. You should wear the blue tie. It matches your eyes. I do not think I need a tie, sweetheart. It is just dinner. Lily shrugged with the wisdom of 7 years. Okay, but I think she will like the blue tie. I wore the blue tie. Mrs. Patterson arrived to babysit, armed with knitting supplies and Lily's favorite board game. I kissed my daughter goodbye with the promise to tell her all about it in the morning. Have fun, Daddy, Lily called as I headed out the door. Do not be nervous. You are really nice and smart. She will definitely like you. I laughed despite my nerves. Thanks for the confidence boost, sweetheart. The restaurant Charlotte had chosen was a small Italian place in a quieter part of downtown. White tablecloths, candles on the tables, the kind of establishment I had walked past 100 times but never imagined actually entering. I arrived 10 minutes early and spent them fidgeting with my tie and wondering if I should have worn something else. Then Charlotte walked in and every thought flew out of my head. She was wearing a simple navy dress, elegant and understated, nothing like the power suits I saw every day at work. Her blonde hair was down, falling in soft waves around her shoulders. Without the corporate armor, she looked younger, more approachable, more beautiful than ever. Hi. She smiled as she reached the table. I was not sure what to wear. Is this okay? You look incredible. The words came out before I could stop them. Charlotte's cheeks flushed slightly. Thank you. You clean up pretty nicely yourself. Borrowed shirt, I admitted. My brother's. She laughed, and the sound melted away some of my nervousness. We sat down, ordered wine, and for a few minutes made small talk about work and weather and nothing important. But eventually the conversation deepened. Can I ask you something? Charlotte set down her wine glass. About Lily's mother. My chest tightened reflexively. It was not something I talked about, not with anyone. But Charlotte had shared her wounds with me that night in my apartment. Maybe it was time I shared mine. What do you want to know? Whatever you are comfortable telling me. I took a breath and began. I met Rachel in college. She was vibrant and exciting, the kind of person who made every room feel more alive just by being in it. We got married young, probably too young, and for a while it felt like a grand adventure. Charlotte listened without interrupting, her blue eyes focused entirely on me. When Lily came along, things changed. Rachel struggled from the beginning. The sleepless nights, the endless demands, the loss of freedom she had not anticipated. She had said she wanted children, But the reality was different from the fantasy. I paused, collecting my thoughts. I tried everything. Marriage counseling, date nights, giving her breaks and space and time. Nothing worked. She grew more distant every day, more resentful, more withdrawn. And then, one Tuesday morning, when Lily was 2 years old, I came home from work and found a note on the kitchen counter. What did it say? The words were seared into my memory. I cannot breathe in this life. I am sorry. I have to find out who I am outside of all this. Please do not hate me. Charlotte's hand covered mine on the table. She moved to Los Angeles, was going to be an actress, follow her dreams. She sent money for 6 months, then stopped responding entirely. Changed her number, let her email lapse. Just vanished from our lives. She never came back for Lily. Never. I shook my head. Not for birthdays. Not for Christmas. Not for anything. The last I heard, she was working as a waitress somewhere, never made it in Hollywood. But she never reached out. Never tried to be part of Lily's life. That must have been devastating. It was. I looked down at our joined hands. Lily cried for her mommy every night for a year. I learned to do everything alone. I figured out how to be both parents, though some days I felt like I was failing at both. You are not failing. Charlotte's voice was firm. Nathan, I have seen you with Lily. The way she looks at you, the confidence she has, the happiness in her eyes. That does not come from a failing parent. That comes from a father who shows up every single day. I felt tears prick at my eyes and blinked them back. I have not dated since Rachel left, I admitted. Have not had the time or the energy or the trust. Lily is my whole world. I have not had room for anything else. Charlotte was quiet for a moment. And now, I am sitting across from you, I said honestly. And I am thinking maybe there is room for something more. After dinner, Charlotte suggested a walk along the waterfront. The night was cool, but clear. Seattle's lights reflecting off the dark water of Puget Sound. We walked close together, not quite touching the tension between us, pleasant rather than uncomfortable. Thank you for telling me about Rachel, Charlotte said quietly. I know that was not easy. It is not something I talk about much. I watched our reflections ripple in the water. But after everything you shared with me, it felt right. Charlotte stopped walking and turned to face me. Can I tell you about my father? I nodded, giving her space to continue. He left on Christmas morning when I was 8 years old. Her voice was steady, but I could hear the old pain beneath the words. I woke up so excited. I had a list of everything I wanted to do that day. Open presents, have pancakes, build snowmen. My mom was in the kitchen starting breakfast, and I ran downstairs to find my dad. She paused, her jaw tightening. He was not there. He had packed a bag during the night while we slept and driven away before dawn. Did not leave a note. Did not say goodbye. Just vanished. Charlotte. I reached for her hand. She let me take it, squeezing my fingers tightly. We found out later that he had been having an affair. Had another family across town, a woman with 2 kids already. He had been living a double life for years, and that Christmas morning, he finally chose which life he wanted. He did not choose you. He did not choose me. Her voice cracked. I was 8 years old, and my father looked at his options and decided I was not worth keeping. The pain in her eyes was raw even after all these years. My mother worked 3 jobs to keep us afloat. I raised myself mostly, made straight A's, because I thought if I was perfect enough, successful enough, maybe he would notice. Maybe he would come back. Did he? Never. Charlotte shook her head. He never reached out, never tried to explain. I saw him once years later at a restaurant with his other family. He looked right through me like I was a stranger. We stood there in silence, the city lights glittering around us. So I threw myself into success, she continued. Climbed every ladder, broke every ceiling, proved to everyone that I did not need anyone. And every achievement was a silent scream into the void. Look at me, Dad. Look at what I became without you. And it never filled the emptiness. No. Her laugh was bitter. And neither did Daniel. I thought finding someone who loved me would fix everything. But I was so scared of being left again that I never really let him in. I kept waiting for him to leave, and eventually he did. She turned to look at me directly. That is why I called you that night, Nathan. Not because I thought you would come, but because you were the only person I could think of who might not make me feel worse about myself. And did I? No. She smiled, small, but genuine. You made me feel like maybe I was not completely broken. Like maybe there was still someone in this world who could see me as a person instead of a problem. I stepped closer to her, close enough to see the tears glistening in her eyes. You are not broken, Charlotte. You are wounded. There is a difference. Wounds heal. How do you know? Because I am wounded too. I touched her face gently, and I think maybe we heal each other. Charlotte leaned into my hand, her eyes closing briefly. I am scared, she whispered. Of what? Of this. Of you. Of feeling something and having it taken away again. I understand. I tilted her chin up so she was looking at me. But I'm not going anywhere. And neither is Lily. We are not your father. We are not Daniel. We are not going to wake up one day and decide you are not worth keeping. She laughed, watery but real. Is that a promise? That is a promise. When I kissed her for the first time, it was soft and careful and full of all the things we were not ready to say yet. She tasted like wine and possibility, and when we pulled apart, she was smiling. Would you like to meet Lily? I asked. Officially, I mean, as someone important to me. Charlotte's smile widened. I would love that. The following Saturday, Lily vibrated with excitement from the moment she woke up. Is Miss Charlotte really coming for dinner, Daddy? Like a real dinner at our house. A real dinner, I confirmed, trying to wrestle her hair into something resembling a ponytail. She is bringing flowers, and she might have a surprise for you. A surprise. Lily's eyes went round. What kind of surprise? If I told you, it would not be a surprise. She bounced impatiently while I finished her hair, then ran to her room to arrange her dinosaur collection for optimal presentation. I spent the afternoon cleaning the apartment, cooking pasta from scratch for the first time in years, and trying not to have a nervous breakdown. This was a big deal. I had not introduced Lily to anyone since Rachel left. My daughter was my whole world, and bringing someone new into that world felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, exhilarating and terrifying in equal measure. The doorbell rang at exactly 6 o'clock. I will get it. Lily sprinted for the door before I could stop her. I heard her yank it open and announce, Miss Charlotte, you are here. Did you bring the surprise? Charlotte's laugh floated down the hallway. Hello, Lily. It is so nice to see you again. And yes, I did bring a surprise. I reached the door to find Charlotte standing there with flowers in one hand and a gift bag in the other. She looked beautiful, in a simple sweater and jeans, her blonde hair pulled back in a casual ponytail. These are for the table, she said, handing me the flowers. And this is for you, Lily. My daughter tore into the gift bag with the enthusiasm of a tiny tornado. When she pulled out the book inside her face, lit up brighter than I had ever seen it. The Complete Guide to Volcanoes. She breathed the words like they were sacred. Daddy, look. It has pictures of every kind of volcano in the whole world. I remembered you said you liked volcanoes, Charlotte said, crouching down to Lily's level. I thought maybe we could look at it together sometime. Lily threw her arms around Charlotte's neck in a fierce hug. This is the best present ever. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Over Charlotte's shoulder, I saw her expression soften into something tender and surprised. She hugged Lily back gently, meeting my eyes with a look that made my heart expand in ways I did not know were possible. Dinner was a beautiful disaster. Lily insisted on helping cook, which meant flour everywhere and at least one dropped egg. Charlotte did not seem to mind the chaos. She jumped in to help, kneeling beside Lily to roll meatballs, laughing when the dough stuck to her fingers, engaging with my daughter like she actually enjoyed the pandemonium. Miss Charlotte, do you know about the supervolcano under Yellowstone? Lily asked while we waited for the pasta to boil. I have heard of it. Is it as scary as it sounds? Lily launched into a detailed explanation of volcanic apocalypse scenarios that probably would have terrified most adults. Charlotte listened with apparent fascination, asking questions that encouraged Lily to share everything she knew. After dinner, Lily gave Charlotte the full tour of her room. "This is Rex, my stuffed T-Rex. He is in charge when Daddy is at work, and this is my collection." She gestured grandly at the shelf of plastic dinosaurs. "I have all the major carnivores and most of the herbivores." Charlotte examined each dinosaur with appropriate seriousness. "This is very impressive, Lily. You know a lot about prehistoric creatures. I want to be a paleontologist when I grow up. Or maybe a volcanologist. Or maybe an astronaut paleontologist who studies dinosaur bones on other planets. That sounds like an excellent career path." Lily made Charlotte try on her plastic tiara, which Charlotte wore with the solemnity of a queen accepting her crown. Then they played Candyland on the living room floor, while I cleaned up the kitchen, listening to their laughter float through the apartment. Miss Charlotte Lily's voice drifted to me suddenly serious. "Yes, sweetheart. Are you going to be my daddy's girlfriend?" I nearly dropped the pan I was drying. There was a pause, and then Charlotte's voice gentle and careful. "Would that be okay with you?" Lily considered for a long moment. "Do you know about dinosaurs?" "I know a little, but I would like to learn more." Another pause. "Okay then, you can be his girlfriend, but you have to play Candyland with me sometimes." "Deal." I heard them shake on it, formal and adorable, and my heart felt like it might burst. When Charlotte got ready to leave later that evening, Lily hugged her fiercely at the door. "You will come back." "Right." My daughter's voice was small, vulnerable in a way that reminded me how much she still craved the presence of a mother figure. Charlotte knelt down to look Lily in the eyes. "I promise I will come back, as often as your daddy will let me." Satisfied, Lily waved goodbye and headed to her room to get ready for bed. I walked Charlotte to her car, the cool night air filled with possibility. "She is wonderful, Nathan." Charlotte's voice was thick with emotion. "You have done such an amazing job with her. She liked you." I found myself smiling. "I think you passed the dinosaur test." Charlotte laughed, the highest bar to clear. "What did she whisper to you?" I asked. "When she hugged you goodbye." Charlotte's eyes glistened in the streetlight. "She said, 'Please come back.' Nobody ever comes back." My throat tightened. I pulled Charlotte close and kissed her softly. "Come back," I whispered against her lips. Always, she promised. The weeks that followed blurred together in a montage of growing happiness. Charlotte became a constant presence in our lives. Dinner at our apartment twice a week became dinner 3 times, then 4. She started keeping things at my place. A toothbrush in the bathroom, a change of clothes in my closet, her favorite coffee mug on the shelf beside mine. Lily flourished under the attention. She dragged Charlotte to the zoo to see the dinosaur exhibit, insisted on teaching her the proper names, for every prehistoric creature declared her an official member of the Volcano fan club. I fell deeper every day, not just for Charlotte's beauty, though she took my breath away every time I saw her. Not just for her intelligence, though her mind fascinated me. I fell for the way she talked to my daughter, the patience she showed during homework meltdowns, the genuine interest she took in Lily's hopes and dreams. I fell for the woman beneath the corporate armor, the one who laughed at silly jokes and cried at happy endings and danced in the kitchen while we cooked dinner. 3 months in, Lily slipped up. She was doing homework at the kitchen table, while Charlotte helped her with multiplication tables. I was making dinner, listening to their conversation with half an ear. 9 times 7 is hard, Lily complained. It is hard, Charlotte agreed. But you are doing great. Let us try using a trick I learned when I was your age. Lily listened intently, then her face brightened as the concept clicked. I get it. Thanks, Mom. The word hung in the air like a held breath. Charlotte froze. Lily's eyes went wide with horror. I am sorry. Lily's voice was panicked. I did not mean to say that. I know you are not my mom. I am sorry, I am sorry. Hey. Charlotte's voice was gentle. She reached out and took Lily's hands. Look at me, sweetheart. Lily looked up, tears threatening to spill. You can call me whatever feels right, Charlotte said softly. Whatever makes you comfortable. I am not trying to replace anyone. I am just happy to be here with you and your daddy. Really? Lily considered this for a moment. Then, with the decisive certainty of a 7-year-old, she nodded. Okay, I will call you Charlotte for now. But maybe someday, Charlotte agreed. I watched them from the kitchen, my heart so full it ached. Later that night, after Lily was asleep, Charlotte and I curled up on the couch. Some movie played on the television that neither of us was watching. She called me Mom, Charlotte said quietly. I know. I have never had anyone call me that before. How did it feel? Charlotte was quiet for a long moment. Terrifying, she admitted. And wonderful. And like maybe this is what I have been looking for my whole life without knowing it. I pulled her closer. Charlotte. Yes, I love you. The words came out soft and certain, nothing like the rehearsed speech I had imagined giving someday. Just truth, simple and undeniable. Charlotte turned to look at me, her blue eyes shining. I love you too. She said it like a confession and a promise wrapped together. I love you and I love Lily, and I do not want to pretend I do not anymore. I kissed her then, deep and slow, and full of everything we had been building toward. When we finally pulled apart, both breathless, Charlotte was crying. I never thought I would have this, she whispered. A family. People who wanted me around. I spent so long convinced I was not worth keeping. You are worth everything, I told her fiercely. And we are not going anywhere. We stayed up talking until 2 a.m, making plans and sharing fears, and dreaming out loud about what the future might hold. For the first time in 5 years, I believed that future might be beautiful. 5 months into our relationship, the rumors started. I had noticed the whispers before, the way conversations stopped when I entered a room, the knowing looks exchanged between colleagues. I had ignored them, focused on my work. Told myself it did not matter what people thought, but it mattered to Charlotte. I saw it in the tension in her shoulders during meetings, the way she maintained careful professional distance whenever we were in the same room at work, the way she second-guessed every decision that involved me, worried that people would see favoritism where there was only fairness. We had tried to keep things separate. At the office, she was Miss Hayes, the demanding VP who held everyone to impossible standards. I was Matthews, the senior manager who had earned his position through hard work and dedication. Our relationship existed in a parallel universe, one where we were just two people who loved each other. But office politics does not respect parallel universes. The confrontation came on a Tuesday afternoon. I was in the break room pouring my 3rd cup of coffee when Kevin Rhodes cornered me by the vending machine. Kevin was a senior manager in another department passed over for the position I had received. He had never forgiven me for it, and he had never been subtle about his resentment. Matthews. His voice was loud enough for the half-dozen other people in the break room to hear. Burning the midnight oil or just enjoying the perks of executive access, I kept my voice even. Just getting coffee, Kevin. Right. He laughed an ugly sound. Must be nice having a direct line to the VP. Some of us have to actually earn our promotions the old-fashioned way. Meaning what exactly? Come on. Kevin's smile was nasty. We all see how she looks at you in meetings. How you are suddenly the golden boy after years of being invisible. It does not take a genius to figure out what is going on. My hands tightened around my coffee mug. Nothing is going on. Sure. He stepped closer, lowering his voice to a theatrical whisper that everyone could still hear. Tell me, does she make you call her Miss Hayes in the bedroom too? Something hot and angry surged through my chest. I was about to respond, probably with something I would regret, when a voice cut through the tension like a blade. Mr. Rhodes. Charlotte stood in the doorway, her expression ice cold. I recognized that look. I had been on the receiving end of it many times during my first 18 months at this company. Kevin's smug expression faltered. Miss Hayes, I did not see you there, clearly. Charlotte walked into the break room, her heels clicking against the tile. She stopped directly in front of Kevin, close enough that he had to look up at her. "Would you like to repeat what you just said? I want to make sure I heard correctly." "I was just making conversation." "Were you?" Charlotte's voice was soft and dangerous, because what I heard sounded a lot like harassment and slander and a hostile work environment complaint waiting to happen. Kevin's face went pale. "I did not mean anything by it." "Then, let me clarify something for you." Charlotte's eyes never left his face. Mr. Matthews received his promotion based on 18 consecutive months of the highest performance metrics in his department. His work was reviewed by the executive committee. His advancement was approved through proper channels. None of it had anything to do with me personally. She paused, letting the words sink in. "So if you have concerns about appropriate workplace conduct, I suggest you take them to HR rather than spreading malicious gossip in the break room. Unless you would like me to schedule that meeting myself." Kevin muttered something that might have been an apology and fled. The break room was silent. Everyone was carefully not looking at either of us. Charlotte turned to me, her professional mask firmly in place. "Mr. Matthews, a word in my office, please." I followed her down the hallway, aware of every eye tracking our progress. She did not speak again until her office door closed behind us. Then her composure cracked. "I am so sorry." She pressed her hands to her face. "I should have handled that better. I should have stayed quiet and let you defend yourself. Charlotte, now everyone is going to think I am protecting you, that there is something going on, which there is. But that is not why you got promoted. And now nobody is going to believe." "Charlotte." She stopped her pacing and looked at me. "Thank you," I said, "for defending me. I made it worse. You did not." I crossed to her, taking her hands in mine. "You told the truth. Everything you said was accurate. But the way I said it, the emotion in my voice, everyone saw." I cupped her face in my hands. "Let them see," I said quietly. "I am not ashamed of loving you. Are you ashamed of loving me?" "No." Her answer was immediate. "Never." "Then we figured this out together. We handle the gossip together. We do not let other people's opinions poison what we have." Charlotte leaned into my touch, her eyes closing. "I am scared," she whispered, "of losing you, of losing everything." "You will not lose me." I kissed her forehead gently. "We are in this together." That evening, Charlotte came over for dinner as usual, but something was different. She was quiet through the meal, distracted while helping Lily with homework, distant in a way she had not been in months. After Lily went to bed, I found her sitting on the couch, staring at nothing. "Talk to me," I said, sitting beside her. "Maybe we should slow down." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. "What?" Charlotte would not meet my eyes. "At work, I mean. Maybe we should be more careful, more discreet. People are talking, and I do not want them saying you did not earn your success." I reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "I have worked so hard, Nathan." She finally looked at me, and I saw fear in her eyes. "My whole career, everything I have sacrificed. If people think I am giving you unfair advantages, it undermines all of it." "Do you think you are giving me unfair advantages?" "No, but that is not what matters. What matters is perception." I let that sit between us for a moment. "What are you really afraid of?" Charlotte was silent for a long time. "I am afraid of ruining this," she whispered finally. "Of ruining everything. I have a track record, Nathan. Everyone I have ever cared about has left. My father, Daniel. Maybe I am not capable of being what you and Lily need. Maybe eventually you will realize I'm not worth the trouble." The words were so raw, so honest that my heart broke for her. "Charlotte." I moved closer, taking her hands despite her resistance. "Look at me." She lifted her eyes reluctantly. "I am not going anywhere. Neither is Lily. We are not your father. We are not Daniel. We are not going to wake up one day and decide you are not worth keeping." "How can you be sure?" "Because I have been on the other side of that. I knew she would understand. Rachel left because things got hard. But I stayed. For Lily, for myself, for the life we were building. I do not run when things get difficult. Charlotte's eyes filled with tears. I do not know how to trust that. I know. I squeezed her hands. But you do not have to trust it today. You just have to stay. Tomorrow you stay again. And the day after that. Eventually you will believe it. She laughed, watery but genuine. You make it sound so simple. It is not simple. But it is worth it. You are worth it. Charlotte collapsed into my arms, crying softly against my chest. I am sorry, she whispered. I am sorry I am so scared. Do not apologize for being human. I held her tighter. Just do not give up on us. I will not. I promise I will not. We spent the next 2 weeks developing a plan. Charlotte would disclose our relationship to HR, officially following all the proper protocols. I would transfer to a different department, eliminating the direct reporting relationship between us. Same level, same pay, just different oversight. It was the right thing to do, the professional thing, and it would take away any ammunition for jealous colleagues like Kevin. The process was smoother than I expected. HR was surprisingly supportive. Apparently, we were not the first office romance they had navigated, and our proactive approach earned us goodwill. My new department head was a woman named Margaret Chen, who had heard good things about my work. She welcomed me with genuine enthusiasm and immediately put me on challenging projects that showcased my abilities. The gossip faded gradually. Without the direct reporting relationship, there was nothing scandalous to talk about. Charlotte and I were just 2 colleagues who happened to be dating. It was not even particularly interesting. At work, we maintained professional boundaries. We did not touch in the office, did not have lunch together where everyone could see, did not give anyone reason to question our judgment. But at home, our relationship deepened. Charlotte officially moved in 6 months after our first date. Lily helped decide where everything would go, treating it like the most important interior design project in human history. The dinosaur books go next to the volcano books, she declared firmly. And Charlotte's shoes go in the closet by the door because she has a lot of shoes. Charlotte laughed. I do have a lot of shoes. It is okay. Lily patted her hand reassuringly. Daddy says collecting things is healthy. The apartment was crowded now. 3 people in space designed for 2. But it did not feel cramped. It felt full. It felt like home in a way it never had before. We fell into routines that felt natural. Morning chaos with breakfast and backpacks and last-minute homework. Evening dinners with conversation and laughter and occasional arguments about bedtime. Weekend adventures to museums and parks and anywhere Lily decided we needed to explore. Charlotte attended every school event, every parent-teacher conference, every soccer game and dance recital and science fair. She was there, present and engaged and committed in ways that still surprised me sometimes. Lily stopped slipping up and calling her mom. She started doing it on purpose. 9 months after that night at the Blue Velvet Lounge, I started planning. I enlisted Lily as my accomplice, which was probably a mistake. My daughter was many things, but subtle was not one of them. Is today the day, Daddy? She would whisper loudly every morning. Are you going to ask her today? Not yet, sweetheart. It has to be perfect. Lily took this very seriously. She spent hours drawing pictures of what the proposal should look like. Her ideas ranged from practical to completely impossible. One involved hiring a dinosaur. Another involved volcanoes. We settled on something simpler. The waterfront where Charlotte and I had first shared our stories. The place where she had told me about her father, where I had told her about Rachel. The place where we had had our first kiss. I found the ring at an antique shop in Pike Place Market. It was simple and elegant, a vintage diamond with character. Something that looked like it belonged to Charlotte. Not flashy, but real. Lily practiced her part obsessively. She was going to hold a sign. We made it together out of poster board and markers, her careful handwriting spelling out the most important question I would ever ask. Will you marry us? Not asking Charlotte to marry me, asking her to become our family. The day arrived, a perfect Saturday in September. I suggested a family walk at the waterfront, casual and natural. Charlotte agreed without suspicion. Or maybe she suspected and just pretended not to. I could not tell. The afternoon was beautiful. Puget Sound gleamed under clear blue skies. Ferries crossed in the distance, their horns carrying faintly on the breeze. Lily skipped ahead of us, her excitement barely contained. "This is nice," Charlotte said, her hand warm in mine. "I love it here." "It is where we had our first real conversation," I reminded her. "Where you told me about your father." She smiled, remembering. "You told me about Rachel. You held my hand for the first time. I kissed you for the first time." Charlotte's smile widened. "That too." We reached our spot, the exact place where everything had changed. "Charlotte," I said, "can I tell you something?" She turned to face me, and I saw the moment she realized what was happening. Her eyes went wide. Her breath caught. "Nathan, 9 months ago you called me from a bar because you needed help." I took her hands in mine. I was not supposed to answer. "You were my boss. It was not my responsibility." But something in your voice would not let me ignore it. Charlotte's eyes were already glistening. "That night I carried you out of a bar. But you are the one who carried me. Out of loneliness I had convinced myself was just normal life, out of fear that I would never find someone who could love Lily the way I do. You taught me that second chances are real." Lily appeared at Charlotte's side, holding her poster board sign. "Will you marry us?" I dropped to one knee, the ring box open in my palm. "Charlotte Hayes, I am not asking you to marry me. I am asking you to become our family, to let us be yours. Will you marry us?" Charlotte stood frozen, her hand pressed to her mouth, tears streaming down her face. For one terrible moment I thought I had made a mistake, that I had pushed too hard too fast, that she was not ready. Then she laughed, a bright, joyful sound that scattered every fear. "Yes," she said at once quiet, then louder. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." She grabbed my face and kissed me deep and fierce right there on the waterfront with strangers watching and my daughter cheering and my heart soaring higher than it had ever been. She said yes. Lily was jumping up and down, her sign abandoned on the ground. "We are getting married." I slid the ring onto Charlotte's finger. It fit perfectly. A fairy horn sounded in the distance, as if even the boats were celebrating. "I love you," Charlotte whispered, her face wet with happy tears. "I love you too." I pulled her close, breathing in the scent of her hair. "Both of us do." Lily wiggled between us, demanding to be included in the hug. We wrapped her up in our arms, the three of us tangled together in laughter and joy. "We are a family now," Lily declared. "A real family." "We always were," Charlotte said softly. "We just made it official." We celebrated with ice cream on the pier, Lily chattering endlessly about wedding plans she had already started making. She wanted flowers and cake and dinosaur decorations. She wanted to be the flower girl. She wanted Charlotte to wear a crown. "A tiara," I think Charlotte said diplomatically. "That is the same thing," Lily insisted. "She is not wrong," I admitted. Charlotte laughed, and the sound was the most beautiful thing I had ever heard. We got married on a rainy Saturday in April. Charlotte had wanted to wait for better weather, but I convinced her that rain was good luck. Besides, we had met in the rain. It seemed fitting that we would start our forever the same way. The ceremony was small. Just family and close friends gathered in a rented garden venue outside the city. Mountains rose in the misty distance. Wildflowers bloomed everywhere despite the drizzle. Lily was the flower girl. She took her responsibility extremely seriously, scattering petals with the precision of a surgeon and the enthusiasm of a 7-year-old. She had insisted on a dinosaur print dress until Charlotte gently steered her towards something more traditional. They compromised on a white dress with tiny embroidered flowers and dinosaur earrings. I stood at the altar in a suit that actually fit borrowed tie, replaced with a new one Charlotte had bought me. My brother Marcus stood beside me as best man, nervously patting his pocket where the rings waited. Then the music changed, and Charlotte appeared. She wore a simple white dress, elegant and understated, nothing like the power suits I saw every day at work. Her blonde hair fell in soft waves around her shoulders, small flowers tucked here and there. She carried a bouquet of wildflowers that matched the ones scattered around the garden. She was radiant. I cried when I saw her, did not try to hide it. My mother cried harder. Charlotte walked down the aisle on her own. She had made that choice deliberately. No one to give her away because she was not being given. She was choosing. Choosing me. Choosing Lily. Choosing this family. When she reached me, I took her hands and squeezed. "You look incredible," I whispered. "So do you." She smiled through her own tears. "Nice tie." The officiant spoke about love and commitment and the courage it takes to choose someone every single day. But I barely heard the words. I was too busy looking at Charlotte, memorizing every detail of this moment. Then it was time for vows. Charlotte went first. "Nathan." She began, her voice steady despite the emotion shining in her eyes. "I spent 35 years building walls, protecting myself, convincing myself that needing someone was weakness." She paused. "Then you came along with your kindness and your patience, and your 7-year-old who beat me at Candyland 12 times in a row." Scattered laughter from our guests. "You did not rescue me that night at the bar. You showed me I was worth rescuing, worth loving exactly as I am. You taught me that strength is not about doing everything alone. It is about letting someone carry you when you cannot carry yourself." She squeezed my hands. "I promise to love you, to support you, to be the mother Lily deserves and the partner you have always needed. I promise to choose our family every single day for the rest of my life." "My turn, Charlotte." I cleared my throat, fighting the emotion threatening to overwhelm me. I used to think my story was about loss, about raising Lily alone, about surviving instead of living. I looked at Lily standing beside us with her flower basket beaming. Then you stumbled into my life, literally, in very expensive heels. Charlotte laughed through her tears. "You taught me that second chances are not just possible. They are beautiful. You taught Lily that mothers can come back, just in different forms. You taught me that the family we choose is just as real as the family we are born into." I brought her hands to my lips. "I promise to carry you home whenever you need it, to see you really see you every single day, to love you through the hard times and celebrate with you through the good ones. For the rest of our lives." The officiant pronounced us married. Lily cheered so loud the neighbors probably heard. Our first kiss as husband and wife tasted like happy tears and new beginnings, and everything I had stopped believing was possible. 2 years later, our house is louder than I ever imagined. We moved shortly after the wedding into a 3-bedroom home with a backyard big enough for Lily's increasingly elaborate science experiments. Charlotte converted the spare room into a home office, and I built a workshop in the garage for the projects Lily and I tackle on weekends. Lily is 9 now, still obsessed with dinosaurs and volcanoes, thriving in 4th grade. She is confident and kind and curious about everything. Teachers say she is a natural leader. I say she is her mother's daughter, both her mothers. Charlotte made director last year, then VP of an entire division. She works from home 2 days a week now. Non-negotiable. She would rather be present for dinner than impress people at another late meeting. I run my own department these days, respected, successful, doing work that matters. But I leave at 5 every day. Family first. 6 months ago, Charlotte and I got the news we had been hoping for. We are having a baby. Lily was the first person we told. Her reaction was everything we had hoped for. "I want a brother," she declared immediately, "so I can teach him about dinosaurs." "What if it is a sister?" Charlotte asked. "Then I will teach her about dinosaurs too." The family photo on our wall has grown. Wedding day, Christmas morning, beach vacation, Charlotte reading to Lily. me teaching bike riding, and soon a new addition to Chronicle. A family built from broken pieces stronger for the cracks. Some evenings after Lily is asleep and the house is quiet, Charlotte and I sit on the back porch and watch the stars emerge. "Do you ever think about that night?" she asks sometimes. "At the Blue Velvet?" "Every day." I pull her closer, her head resting on my shoulder. "About how close I came to not answering your call. And now I understand something I did not back then." "What is that?" "That sometimes we need to fall apart to find who is willing to help put us back together." Charlotte takes my hand and places it on her growing belly. "Thank you," she whispers, "for answering, for coming, for seeing me when I could not see myself." I kiss the top of her head. "Always." The night is quiet around us, peaceful, full of possibility. I think about all the paths that led us here, the pain and the loss and the loneliness, the walls we built and the courage it took to let them fall, the unexpected phone call that started everything. Some mistakes lead to the most beautiful beginnings. This is ours. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We would love to have you join our family of viewers who believe in second chances and the power of love to heal even the deepest wounds. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it today. Someone who might be feeling alone or wondering if their story can still have a happy ending. Because it can. It always can. We would love to know which country you are watching from. Drop it in the comments below and let us know what part of this story touched you most. And remember, the most unexpected nights often lead to the most beautiful mornings. Sometimes, all it takes is one person showing up when you need them most. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next story.